On this episode, I sit down with Amit Bhuta, who is a 20-year real estate veteran and the team lead of the All In Miami Group. Today, he shares his insider secrets that he used to leverage over 90 closed referrals. We'll also be digging into his personal philosophy towards social media marketing, his favorite social media platforms, why consistency is key, and the number one mistake agents make when marketing themselves. Now, before we get started, let's help you stay connected with these top performing realtors across the nation by hitting that subscribe button now. And without further ado, I'm your host, Shawn Kunkler. Matt, what's happening, brother?
Everything's great. Nice to be on.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It was really funny. I had Jason Rowland out of Chicago, and afterwards, after we wrapped, we were just hanging back and chatting as we always do. And I was like, "Hey, listen, who do I have to have on this podcast?" And he was like, "I got the guy. I'll introduce you in a second." And then, like literally a minute later, the email came in. I was like, "Right on." So he's been a dear friend, and we've slung referrals back and forth from Chicago to San Francisco. So he's just a great resource, and here we are because of him.
Yeah, Jason's great. We connected over COVID, like we were on Clubhouse back when Clubhouse was a thing, I guess. Both of us like sports cards, NFTs and stuff, and then that's how we got connected.
Oh, right on. I didn't realize it was through Clubhouse. I was on that platform for a hot minute also, and then I was like, that's not for me. So listen, let's give our listeners some context. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, my name is Amit Bhuta, pronounced many different ways growing up in Miami. I'm 53. I've lived here since I was 4. So I've seen plenty of changes. I'm a real estate agent for Compass in Miami. We have a team. We're called the All In Miami Group. And there's 5 of us. We get 95% of our business from social media and people, a lot of times people that we don't know that were kind enough to see us online and call us. I guess the one sentence thing that I could say about us is we try and get the most motivated buyers to get them excited about spending the most for luxury homes in Miami using like out of the box marketing.
That's interesting. That's very intriguing. I like all of what you said right there. Unpack that a little bit more for us.
The problem with the real estate, in my opinion, this is my 19th year doing this, is when we start real estate, we get we go to an office and the broker tells us, call up all your friends and family and everyone you know and get them to trust you on the biggest purchase they ever make, you know? And it's sort of a selfish thing. And so realtors feel like they have to prove how good they are instead of like trying to be like fake it till they make it. And they share a lot of things about, they do real estate, social media and marketing the same exact way. We try and do it differently.
With the very first brokerage I started with, it was a very hit the head of everybody you know, as hard as you can, and just basically just keep hounding them. Are you ready to buy? Are you ready to sell? Do you want to invest? And that just it didn't resonate with me as a person, and I knew intuitively just from doing sales for 2 decades, you're going to turn people off fast. Like you have to do, I 100% agree. Like you have to do things differently. Like you can't just be this person hounding everyone. So how do you do it differently?
If you treat someone like they're your family, right? If you treat someone like they're your sister or brother or mother, father, and you're not going to tell them, hey, you're going to hire Compass to sell your house because we hired the top person from Tesla, Microsoft, and on and on and on. No one cares, right? You have to look at it from the other person's perspective. That person's making a major decision in their life. And if we hear them out, we speak 10% of the time, ask the right questions so we can really dive into what they want. It'll help things a whole lot. So we do it a bit differently. So in real estate, there are many times where we we deal with people where we connect with them completely, right? We have so many things in common. And even if the transaction is difficult, whether it's rental, sale, whatever it is, because we connect with them a little bit better, it's an easier transaction. But the opposite is true, right? If we have nothing in common with them, even if it's supposed to be an easy transaction, it's a lot harder. So our team reverse engineers who we want to work with. And we're not like picky like that. We want people to want to work with us if they get along with us. It makes the whole transaction better. So I reverse, just to give you an example of me, and if you want, I can tell you about the team. But like for me, there are a few things that I like outside real estate. One thing is mental health. I've had 7 friends sadly commit suicide in my life, just dreadful, right? And because, yeah, it makes you suicidal. And I had that journey. And because of that, you want to share that life is great. That's for me. And so I talk about mental health a lot. My interests are all over the place. I love tennis, so I post about tennis. I love food. I like to eat too many calories, so I post about that. I love sports. And so what happens, family, and I have like 4 or 5 different buckets that I talk about. And then real estate, you have to have social proof that you can actually sell real estate. But those would be stories about our clients and not specifically naming them, but talking about how, I'll give you an example. I'll just make this up in my head. It's Saturday night. It's 11 p.m., 11:06 p.m., and I'm having my lunch and I have the biggest smile on my face. Today, earlier, I met my clients who have sacrificed for 4 years, missing dinners, not going on vacations, working overtime, scraping up the most money they could. And today I gave them their keys. We did the closing yesterday. I met them at the house. I gave them the keys, and to see the smile on their faces, that's what life is all about. So something like that, when we talk about real estate, storytelling about the other person. There's a book by Donald Miller. It's called Building Your Story Brand. And basically we market where we're the hero and it should be the customer is the hero and we're just the guide. We're just in the story.
I love everything about that. And there's a distinct difference between people who do that and then someone who just says, I just sold this house for 1.5. Look at me. I'm awesome. I'm going to go buy a new XYZ now because I got a fat commission check. It has a completely different feel. And what is also interesting is the way our brains are wired is we remember stories. We remember parables. That's why the big books are all parables of how to live our lives. And when you just shared that story off of the cuff, which you made up, there's points of it that are you remember. And at the end of the day, we don't remember details of the story, but we remember how that person made us feel, which it's distinctly different from the person who's just posting about the transaction or the thing versus the story of how your client, the hero, actually arrived there and then how you were the shepherd to get them to that point. I love everything about that. I've been following your Instagram and you're not just saying it, you live by it. And I 100%, you can, as you scroll through it, you get a feel of who you are as a person, good and bad, and the different sides of it, which then as the consumer, as me, just the onlooker, I can get involved with it. I can identify with you. And then you're right. At the end of the day, if it's a referral coming in from another agent or a buyer who stumbled upon your page, they then know different points about you. And then the relationship starts a step later in a deeper point, which is incredibly valuable.
So many people will ask me about my wife before I tell them that I'm married.
It's funny. I knew about your wife probably right away from one of your other videos because and we can talk about it, but you were unpacking how you leverage $7 million in transactions off of Nextdoor. And yeah, like you straight up are talking about your wife, who's a physician, who has her title is PPP. And you're like, well, if you want to know what that is, like, let me know. We can have a conversation. And you're right. Like, I think you did a great job on putting the spotlight on something other than just, I'm awesome, I did this many sales, I sell at this price point, you should call me because I'm great.
To me, it's a bit sickening. There's a friend of mine, his name's Jason Cassidy. He lives in San Diego, and I quote him so many times. And basically, what it is this: when we market or we do social or whatever, a lot of agents, and not just agents, a lot of people that do social for business, they assume that that person is ready to transact at that moment, you know, but the odds are probably 95, 99% aren't. But we want them to get to know us and like us. If we're a good fit, if they don't, it's fine. But when they're ready to think of, like, Amit or Jade or whoever it is, and when they're ready to buy, and it's such a major difference. We get calls where people ask us if we would like to work with them rather than us asking them that question.
There's a clear distinction between chasing and being pursued. By doing this differently, you're flipping the script. There, people are then seeking you out. I'm curious, you have, at this point of the recording, you have I think it was 47 plus thousand, let's call it 48,000 followers on Instagram, it's pretty impressive. Of that mix, I'm sure you get a lot of pings and DMs. How many people do typically come directly to you, either buyers or sellers? And then how many are just straight up referrals from other agents in other markets?
Yeah, so since I've been at Compass in April of 2018, so this will be my fifth year, we've gotten over 90 agent referrals. And yeah, so a very high number. And so, like, just to peel back the Instagram thing, we get leads from Instagram, but honestly, a lot of my followers, I used to do blogs. I learned a long time ago I started doing these blogs on top 5 foodies, top 5, whatever in my area. And then this is how I got a lot of them. I would DM them and I would say, this is what I would do. I'd write the story. So it'd be on my website and I would say, hey, John, this is Amit. You don't know me, but I just wanted to congratulate you. I spent the last 3 weeks trying to figure out who the best top 5 foodies in Miami are. And you made the list. If you're interested in the article, please, take a look at it. And here's the link. And I got shouted out so many times from people that my Instagram following grew a lot. So that's not really fair to say I have a great Instagram following. That's how it happened, right? So I have people that are interested in food, architecture, other things. We get way more business from YouTube.
So I want to pause for a second. You're way too humble. Like I think it's, I mean, regardless of how they're getting to you, they've gotten to you and they're following you. And I think the other beautiful thing is they're all potential clients or referrals. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I do really like that approach. We have a newsletter that goes out monthly for our sphere. And within that, we always shout out local and we look up something, like they have to have like the owner, and it's the owner that has to have something special or unique or different. And then we try to correlate it with if there's something going on socially in that month or a special holiday, we'll kind of connect the dots and be like, hey, this is our shout out. If it's a coffee shop or a sake bar or whatever it is, it's a great way for us to actually impress upon our community that we're luxury realtors, but we're actually building the community and then creating this supportive group around us. Which is so incredibly important. But before we go to YouTube and talk about that, let's go back to the staggering number of 90 referrals from agents, which is incredible. Let's just say that. I'm assuming those are all over the nation being funneled to you for buyers and sellers.
I'm in Miami, right? A lot of people are moving to Miami. If I was like in, Louisville, Kentucky, maybe less would come. Not that it's different, but whatever. A lot of people are moving here for tax savings, especially California, as you know, moving here, Northeast. So we're getting high wealth individuals moving here. And because we're Compass, we work in a lot of markets with high net worth individuals, right? So because of these videos and stuff, it's the team, not just me getting the referrals. Jade on the team gets quite a few. She's from New York, so she gets a lot from there. And yeah, it's people are seeing our videos, and we have this thing called Workplace, as you know, and I try and use Keller Williams' term of coming from contribution with any post that I do. Life is better when you try and help others than try and be in it for yourself, and in real estate, we're so used to, like, I'm very humbled that I get many calls a month from agents that I don't know, right? They'll say, "Hey, I saw this. How do you do this?" or whatever. And I always, when they text me, I'll say, "Let's have a phone call. Let's just talk." And if I was in real estate in the beginning, I would be taught to tell that person at the end of the conversation, "Oh, by the way, if you know anyone moving to Miami, please give them my number." But that's the worst. For me, that's a way of diminishing that relationship with that person. It's like calling up a person that you've done business with in the past. You call them and they're thinking, okay, what is Ahmed or Kurt or whoever, what do they want in the call? And the whole time you don't want anything. And at the end, you're like, in case you're wondering why I called you, I saw a Thai restaurant and I know you love Thai food and I thought about you and I figured just wanted to check up on you. That's it.
There's an amazing Tony Robbins quote, and I think it sounds like you live by this. It's relationships are not a place to go and get something. They're a place to go and give something. And if you think of relationships like a bank account and you keep going there and withdrawing by asking questions of not questions to learn more about them, but questions that serve you, as in, are you ready to buy? Are you ready to sell? Do you want to invest? You're withdrawing from that bank account. And the way that I remember this is you're withdrawing 5 times the amount that you're putting in. So if you call somebody, you should call them 5 times and talk to them and have an authentic conversation 5 times before you do that one ask. And then once you ask, your bank account is now back at 0. If we collectively just remember that, I just think this business would really transform itself in a different way. And again, it shifts us, which we're very hard programmed as salespeople to continue to chase, but then it shifts us to attracting. And the way that I view my clients and people who've worked with me in the past years is my philosophy. It's not if they're going to call me when they're ready to make a move. It's just now a matter of when, because we're spending all this time nurturing them and providing value, not telling them we're providing value, but actually providing value and things that support them month over month. And you do it with content. Like there's a million different ways. Obviously we can dissect this. And it sounds like your superpower is leveraging your social media. And then it sounds like you've also taught your team.
It's funny, if we do things that make us feel better, like giving is always, if you do it enough, it feels better than receiving, right? And when you're doing something like that, it's helped me pick the people for the team that have a like mind, so when you have them, it's a little bit easier to do. So I know you said taught them, so I've taught them a little bit, but I don't want to like take the credit for the person they are.
Sky Michaels, who we just briefly chatted about before this podcast, he's extraordinary. He's a business coach, soon to be author. And then he's the host of the 6 a.m.ers, but he actually talks about finding your fingerprint. And then once you find your fingerprint, which it's unique and special for everybody, then you can go and find other people who have a similar fingerprint, i.e. the individuals on your team, that philosophy is it's less about building transactions and it's more about building relationships. And then relationships, like digging a well, it's the result is 90 referrals, which is pretty outstanding. And I get it. Like, you are in an advantageous spot, Florida. I'm from Connecticut originally, and New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, all high taxes. So come retirement age, you've accumulated your wealth, you sell all your properties there, and you move straight down south to Florida, where It's much more tax beneficial. The weather's far more beautiful, and then you live out many of your years there. So I don't think that's an accident either. Like you've you've obviously built this thing, and if you were building this thing successfully there and you decide to move to another market that doesn't have the volume, I'm sure you would find the same success. You would just find a new path to get to that point.
Thank you.
Let's kind of shift over to, which kind of runs parallel with your Instagram, but over to your YouTube. High level, I think Instagram is still a great platform. It's by far the number one platform. Anytime I've talked to people on this podcast, it's 100% their number one. And I would say number two, and it's creeping up in rank, is YouTube, because of YouTube and YouTube Shorts, which is the short version of the long form videos. So talk to us about what you're doing over on that platform.
YouTube is more for education. Until they had YouTube Shorts, is for education or like long form video, like a TV show or something. And a lot of times people are listening to the audio, whereas TikTok, Instagram, and, similar type short form content, people are at work. They want to be entertained. So you see the word scroll across. So like with YouTube, to give you an example, if someone's dryer is not working in their house and they're a bit handy, they'll probably go on YouTube and figure out how to fix it. So with YouTube, for us, what works is long form content. We are doing a lot of shorts because shorts gives us subscribers, and long form content gives us deals, right? Because short form, TikTok obviously is YouTube's big competitor. YouTube wants to be like TikTok. That's why they have the YouTube Shorts, and that's why the algorithm for that is it pushes out those shorts way more than the long form content. So we do that, and we get people that will, subscribe. But what happens is we don't care about the amount of views on long form content, because what happens is we get calls all the time. It's so weird and humbling, where they'll say, hey, my wife and I, or my partner and I, whoever it is, spent a few hours over the weekend watching your YouTube channel about real estate. And we would like to get Airbnbs in Miami or whatever it is. And from there, I learned this. So for YouTube, you don't need to edit it well. The videos that have gotten us the most business have been me with a fake background and just talking on my Zoom, recording it, uploading it to YouTube, and basically sharing questions that buyers or sellers or people moving to Miami would want. And also I throw in some authentic stuff. I got a hair transplant not long ago, and I had my videographers there because, you have great hair, so you don't have to worry about this. But like,
mine's going away pretty quick.
I can't tell. But like, so when you're younger and you start losing your hair, it's something that people can relate to if they're going through the same thing, whether it's male, female, or whatever. So I share videos on other stuff. We did one on suicide awareness and stuff like that. So people, if they dig into the channel, they'll get to know me or the team like they do on other platforms. But YouTube, it's basically sharing information. If you pretend you're a buyer or seller in your area and you Google the stuff, you could figure, without getting too detailed, I want to make this as easy as possible. Pretend you're that buyer or seller and look at what they're looking up. See the things that are popping up. And those are the questions that you should be asking. Like in Miami, since April of last year, our team has started creating this Miami neighborhood guide. So we probably put in over 100K doing this. People can do it spending, maybe nothing, but we wanted to do it maybe a better way, a more professional way. So what we did is one day last year, almost April of last year, I was like, when people move to Miami or they're visiting Miami, they know Miami is Miami, but they don't know it as Coconut Grove, as Coral Gables, as Pinecrest, just like in your area, right? The hyper local areas. So there were like 50 something areas that we did. And each one we did like 5 blogs. So one blog would be, I live in Pinecrest in Miami. So it would be explore Pinecrest. So you get an overview of Pinecrest. That would be someone who's moving there would probably be interested in that. But then you also want to get the locals as well to read it. So I wrote like, it would be 5 things that you may not know about Pinecrest. So it'll get them to read that. The next article would be 5 things to do in Pinecrest. Next one would be 5 best restaurants in Pinecrest, 5 best desserts in Pinecrest. And then the last one would be a neighborhood video. We've paid a videographer to do a drone and walk through video so they can get a feel for that. And by doing that, we did 50 something. So that would be like I'm telling you this to give you an idea of the content that you may want to create, where it's information that you get asked over and over and over. And if you had like a library of this stuff already, it makes it easier on YouTube or any other platform. YouTube will probably be better because they're more willing to spend the time and listen to long form content, but also written word is great too, like an article.
I 100% agree. I say that often, but San Francisco is a 7-by-7 mile city. So its footprint, and I've said this before, is smaller than Disney's parking lot.
Oh, jeez.
Crazy to think about. And within that, we have over 100 neighborhoods. And so for me alone, like I have easily 100 neighborhoods. I can create 100 pieces of content just on the neighborhood and then unpacking it. So when people, I hear this is, I just don't know what to record. Like there's a lot of low hanging fruit. And if you just flip the script and think, what are people looking at? And you touched on this, and I think it's really smart, is shorts gives you subscribers, but long form gives you deals. And so it's not about the quantity of people looking at it. It's now the quality of people looking at it. And what are they then looking for in ads? I also feel the other piece that people miss as agents is Instagram is amazing, but where it falls short is its search capabilities. Is YouTube is owned by Google. Google is the #1 search engine in the whole US by far, if not beyond. And then YouTube is the #1 search for how to. And you made the point of, you know, when I literally fixed my dryer, I went to how do I fix this Samsung dryer, blah, 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 and found a video and then was able to repair it. So I agree. Shifting our lens by thinking about our buyer and then sitting down and going through emails, doing searches, figure out what the buyer in your area is asking, where are they stuck, and then creating the pieces around that. And it's super simple. If you create one video that's long form, like this podcast, you can then chop it up into many short form videos and put those on as shorts. And it's not, you and I don't have to then record 5 different videos. We've recorded one video that then gets cut up into smaller pieces. And I think, much like everything in life, if we can just chunk it down into small digestible chunks, they're much easier to execute on. And it's not these huge and elaborate pieces that actually get us the traction that we ultimately want and desire. Because listen, there's 50 states in the US, and within that there's, I don't even know how many millions, let's say, of towns and neighborhoods. And those are all ways for us to educate people. And then unpacking it even further with restaurants and bars and places to take your dog or hikes and just layer in all these other components of it. We then just become a beacon of knowledge and information for people. And if then they're ready to make a move, they contact us. Something you said in one of your videos, it grabbed me. I was like, wow, that's a really powerful piece. Is you mentioned that you don't have to keep saying you're a realtor, you do luxury real estate and all these things. And you brought up the point of it's similar to product placement in a movie. the actor doesn't stop mid scene and look at the camera and hold up a bottle of Coke and say, "Have you had a Coke today? It's refreshing." Like, they don't do that. They just leave it on the table with the label facing you, and that's it. It's just a very subtle sub communication, and then they move on with the scene. And I feel that if we just, as realtors, cover up more space, but do it in a more elegant way on a bigger platform, we will by far, our businesses will, it's inevitable your business will grow.
So we have a new agent on our team. Her name's Tara. Tara's a chef. She does real estate, but she's a chef. So I'm always, as you do more content, you always think of how to be more creative with it, how to be different, maybe not as duplicatable as others. So when I was talking to her on the interview, I'm thinking like luxury real estate, one of the big things people like to see on TV, even if it's not luxury real estate, are kitchens, right? People want to see kitchens. And they also
Always.
want to, yeah, they want to see food too. So I thought, we're going to have Tara and other people on the team will cook meals in our listings, kitchens. We'll show the home like B-roll in the background. You'll see a little bit about the home. And Tara was asking me like, what should I do? I'm like, just wear a Compass cap. You don't need to say you're an agent. Wear a Compass t-shirt, like the product placement that you are saying. I remember a long time ago, before I knew how to do marketing better, one of the things, I'm going to go back a step. What we try and do with marketing, we paralyze ourselves a lot. We try and do best. I heard a saying a long time ago where don't try to be the best you can be, just try and be better, and whatever we do, if we're just a little bit better, it's good. And if we try and be best, we won't do anything. So like years ago, when I did real estate marketing the normal way, I have a sister. She's 2 years older than me and couldn't have a better sister. She's not in real estate, but she tells everyone about me and also like nice things besides being, a good brother. And I remember like she consumes my content, but years ago when I did it like self-fulfilling real estate hero type realtor content, I went to my mom's house and this is like when Facebook was more popular. And she goes to me, Amit, I saw your article on Facebook. I didn't read it, but I liked it. And I was like, man, I can't even create content that one of my biggest fans in the world wants to read. So
That is
yeah.
hilarious. I wrote a few years ago, I wrote The Insider's Guide to Home Buying, the San Francisco edition, and I was proud of myself. So I sent a copy to my parents and my sister. And the same thing, I got this is really cool, but I didn't read it yet. And I was like, oh, that's so weird. But hey, it's fine. It actually got me a ton of business. So I'm like totally good with it. And that's an idea for somebody, if they're listening, is that's how one of the ways that I built reciprocity early on in my career is I wrote this book. I put it on Amazon. I basically created it to show that there's a value to this thing. And then whenever I host an open house, I have usually a handful of copies with me. And then if I have a good engaging conversation with the buyer, I kind of say, hey, this may help you on your journey. And then I just hand it to them. And of course, all my contact information is in there. And so I don't have to ask them. I think what it does in an interesting way is it shows them that I'm an expert because I wrote the book on the topic, but then it opens the door for them to just ask me when they're ready to make a move to help them with their process. And it's one of those things that is a subtle shift. To go back to the chef on your team, that's an ace in the hole. A friend of mine, I hope he doesn't get mad for me telling this on air and letting all these agents across the nation now know this, but his partner was a blog writer and marketer. And so they love to cook. And what they did was they got together and they had a friend of theirs photograph it, but they made pizzas. And then they put it together into a really beautiful book and then gave it to all of their sphere. And it was a cookbook of how to make pizza. And it was just this really beautifully done and elegant piece, positioning them as chefs, friends, Like it changes who they are to these individuals. And he actually said that one piece, it got him a handful of business by the end of that year. And so I would encourage anybody listening to this is, think a little bit outside of the box and how can you approach communicating with people, not in the direct way, but a little bit more indirect. And you don't have to do all these fancy things that are expensive. I think sitting down and writing a blog it's a really easy way to get your SEO optimized and communicate information out.
Totally. I love your idea about your book. That's amazing. That was super smart. Really, really smart.
To be honest with you, that book came out of desperation. I was new to the business. I was hosting open houses as my lead source. I was good at it and I loved doing it. The problem was everybody was asking me, so how long have you been doing this? And I didn't have a record. So I didn't have the confidence. And the only thing I was leaning on is the brokerage. And basically I was losing leads week after week because of it. And I was like, okay, how do I move myself from, how do I inoculate that question? How do I change that? I wrote the book after I had, I would say 3 sales. I got incredibly lucky. I was hosting open houses. My first San Francisco sale was for 2.35 million. My second was for 1.8. And then it kind of snowballed from there, but I was still losing a ton of sales in between. And so I basically took those commission checks. I bought myself some time. I wrote the book and then leveraged that as an opportunity to inoculate that question that was coming up. And so when I was talking to people, I would hand them the book before they would ask, and then they wouldn't ask. And then they would internalize that I can help them to that next step. So I would encourage people with that. If you are meeting the same objection over and over, figure out how to answer it in a more elegant way to get to the goal. The crux of that is everything you've been saying this whole point or this whole time is how do you provide value? Like how do you actually uplift the person that you're communicating with? Well, there's over 2 million agents on a national level, and we're in a very transitional year. And so then how do we collectively band together and lift each other up? And so this is what I'm doing is I'm talking to top performers and trying to glean from them like you. And that's my contribution right now of and why I'm trying to do this and what platform I'm focusing on, because I think this is incredibly important for all of us in this moment. At any moment, there's definitely cycles that we all just need to pause and help each other in some capacity.
To get back to the YouTube, the things that I found are the most important. One is basically the consistency, right? We worry about, the paralysis analysis by trying to make it perfect instead of just doing it, right? It's like if you had a friend and you speak to them often, you don't care that much about like what these conversations are. It doesn't matter. You're just getting that consistent conversation. And I look at like the audience that sees our videos as hopefully friends, right? We see them as people that are looking. And when you do the videos, you're like talking to one person or whatever, instead of trying to talk to an audience. And the consistency builds the relationship. Another thing is don't worry about the editing. As you do more and more, you build your audience. As your audience gets bigger, then it's up to you if you want to do like the professional videos. So Jade is on my team. Jade is 26 years old. She started doing YouTube in the summer. She has almost 1,000 subscribers just from consistency. Whoa. Yeah. Just doing a lot of YouTube shorts. Again, that builds the subscribers. Some of the like neighborhood videos that we've done, she's putting those on her account as well and her channel. And the thing is this, when you do shorts, what happens is you get used to like high views a lot. And now the algorithm is changing a bit, so it's a little bit tougher. But when you do long form, you get way less views for the most part, for most people. And so you got to be okay with that. When you do content, you have to be okay without looking at these vanity metrics. Don't worry about the views. Don't worry about the shares, the comments and all that. Worry, maybe later you can worry about it when your channel is more defined and everything. But in the beginning, you're just trying to build up your consistency. You have to look at it as you're getting better at your craft and everyone is getting to see you, I guess, practice and get better, right? It doesn't matter if one person's doing it, but more than anything, you're getting better at creating content, at conversations. Another thing is the thumbnail is very important, so it's very easy to do though. I mean, it depends on what the person is. If you want to spend 5 or 10, or you could spend $5 to $10 for a thumbnail, or Mr. Beast, the most followed YouTuber, will spend over 6 figures on a thumbnail creation sometimes. So the thumbnail actually, if you guys Google me and my YouTube channel, I looked all over for how to do it. And then one day after I learned it, I'm like, let me just share it with the world how to do it like really easy. So I shared that, and writing the description of what you're saying or what you're doing is important. But there's something that we have that a lot of people know about because it's in the news all the time. It's called Chat GPT. Chat GPT, it's openai.com. It's a relatively new company that Microsoft has invested a ton of money in. So like what you could do, so I'll give you an example. So say I do a video on the top schools in Miami. I could go on Chat GPT and say, write a description for a YouTube video that I am doing on the best schools in Miami. And I want the people with kids in elementary school to engage with the video the most and use SEO the best you can. If I just say that, it'll do it and give me multiple different ideas and it'll tell me. Or if I say, write a title for this, and I just tell it what to do and I try and give them guidance, it'll do really well. So those things will help a lot. And don't get worried. Don't get so caught up in like these hashtags or tags and stuff. In our mind, they're a lot more important than they are. At the end of the day, just create content that you think someone wants to see. I'll give you an example. If you're in San Francisco and you want to know like the top 5 hole in the wall Thai restaurants, okay? Maybe there may not even be 5 because San Francisco is so small, but say you want to know a hole in the wall restaurant, whatever it is. If you go on YouTube or wherever you go, you just want to get the information. You don't care if it's highly produced or whatever. You just want to get that list. And then you're excited because you're probably not competing against too many people. So again, think of it like as what someone would be interested in. Don't worry so much about all those other things. I have a friend, she does Indian food, vegetarian Indian food. And I saw like her 3rd video was not even highly produced or anything. She got 600,000 views on it because it was something that,
Jesus.
yeah, it was something that people were interested in and they didn't care about anything else.
You made so many phenomenal points. I would say with regards to YouTube, it's a dance between putting up pieces that you're interested in and what people are already looking for. And if you can marry the two, that's where you get those vanity metrics. When you say don't worry about these certain stats, what do you then worry about? Like when you sit down to make a video, what are you measuring, or what are you focusing on? How do you pull yourself out of that and focus on the thing that's important? What is that thing itself?
You know what it is? I think it's from seeing past results, right? Where I see a video that I had 80 views on it and I got 3 people that wanted to buy homes, from like that.
Phenomenal ratio.
Right. So like there was a video like in Miami, a lot of people do Airbnbs, but they're very difficult to do. And I had no clue how to do them. So one day I was like, let me educate myself. And then like right after I educated myself, I took my Zoom. I did a Zoom. I put a fake background, the compass, basically a Compass office in New York background. And then I just started talking about Airbnbs. And then what I did is I showed them how I researched it because I don't want to be like liable for it either, right? I'm like sharing them the county sites and all that, and they're looking. And all of a sudden, because I shared that, I became an expert. I'm not an expert. Jade on the team is an expert. I'm not. But by doing that, we get calls almost every single week for someone looking for an Airbnb in Miami, sometimes twice a week. And I did that video probably a year and a half ago, and just constantly people are calling us. And then like if you want to go like a pro tip would be to get that video and use like a website that'll take that audio and make it words. It'll like make it into text. You can create a long form article. So I did that. And, you know, you add a few photos here and there, you double space, you just make it look like an article. And you don't like put all the words together. You double space a lot. You don't think like you're in English class where the paragraphs have to be a certain way. You just make it easy to read on mobile, right? And you have photos every now and then. And because I did that, because I transcribed that video, if you go on Google and you put like Miami Airbnb buy, our article is going to be either the first or top 3 or top 5, depending on when you do the search. So it's like you were saying before, you don't have to do so many things of content. It's how you make that content work more and cut it up and do other things with it.
And I think the other piece within that is once you figure out what's working, double down, make more of those pieces, because you've obviously, it's like digging a well. You've struck gold or water or oil, whatever you're looking for, and keep going. Like make another one like that. Like that's when you go back and evaluate on the big map, not the short term. You mentioned Jada built her Instagram radically fast and from the summer to 1,000 subscribers, which is quick, very quick and impressive. And you mentioned consistency with yourself and with her. I'm curious, how do you define consistency?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example of Jade. So it was on YouTube, and what Jade did was she did like her goal was to do 3 to 5 shorts a day. And that was like, it was doing things where even if you do 1 or 2 and you don't get to your goal, it's okay because at least you did something, right? And to be easy on yourself, but not too easy, right? There's like a finish line, but not like where if you don't get to that finish line, you get really upset. And you know, sometimes we create these random things that we put on ourselves, and it shouldn't be like that. It should be like, okay, like for example, in real estate, it's not pass or fail if you sold or you didn't sell. If you got someone to do one extra thing, it's better. So like Jade built up her YouTube a lot. She went to new construction properties. She went to areas that she knew people would be interested in. Everyone likes nice homes. On every like appointment she went, because it's a short, she snuck them in. You know, it's not that hard it's not long form. So it's easy to get 10, 15 seconds. And then a lot of her customers she met, saw her either Instagram, you know, her Instagram stories, reels, or they saw the shorts. So they didn't mind if she was doing this while she was with them. And because that's how they met her, a lot of them. And so consistency on, you know, if it's real estate, beautiful kitchens. It's not a price point, but it's basically things like that, you know, kitchens or unique things. Also, it would be like areas that you go to. And sometimes like the other day, this was like, it was a listing. It was a rental listing, waterfront rental listing. And I was about to sit down and all she did was she like videoed me. She videoed her assistant and then me. And she's like, Amit, how does the couch feel? And I sat and I got on the couch and she got like, you know, over 1,000 different views on that because the algorithm for YouTube Shorts is crazy. And I'm sure she got subscribers from just that, you know?
That's amazing. Consistency is king. I don't care if it's working out, dieting, content creation. It sounds like she's tapped into it. And I love that she's making it a goal to do it 3 times a day. And if she misses, she's still hit a phenomenal target. I learned many years ago, it's better to aim high and miss than to aim low and hit. And so with a goal like that, it's not a lofty, I'm going to make 900 and something videos a year. I'm going to make 3 a day. And they sound very different, though they're the same. So my partner, Cielo, she, for 7 different years, decided, she's a photographer, a creator, a videographer, and she decided to shoot a video a day for 7 years. She joined these little groups, and she failed. I'm doing air quotes, failed for 4 of the 7 years. So she succeeded only 3 times.
Wow, that's amazing stuff.
But in doing that, she put out copious amounts of content. And she's a photographer. She makes really amazing photos and videos. So her content now is living out there. And this little company called Apple finds her photo and emails her and says, hey, would you mind if we put this on the billboard? So her photos were global, literally global. The crazy part is it didn't happen once, it happened twice. When I met her, we went into a store. We're like on our second date, we went into a store and she's like, hey, look at this. And she pulls a magazine off of the shelf, flips it over, and her photo is on the back.
Amazing.
And then they picked up one of her videos.
Oh, man.
All just virtue of consistency. And by putting so much out there, she covered so much space that when the right person was looking for that right thing, she had it. And I would say if nothing else, that's the takeaway, is just, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the most edited and cleaned up or like Mr. Beast. You don't have to spend 6 figures on a thumbnail. You don't. You just have to be consistent in doing it. And eventually something is going to stick. And when that thing sticks, double down.
Totally.
YouTube is an incredibly massive platform. Like when we were kids, it was cable TV. Now it's YouTube. And so who is watching it is anybody and everybody. And it's an amazing access point. So I would, if anything else, I would encourage people to not add more social media if you're not doing it, but to consider doing it if you can take it on.
Agreed.
With that, if you have any other parting words.
2 things. Okay. So first thing, and I won't make them long. The first thing is, like, a lot of agents will ask, like, what can I do to improve my business? You know, I'm a brand new agent, or I just got into real estate. What should I do? And I touched on this a little bit earlier. We try and fake it till we make it. And that's not how things work. Imagine if you're watching a movie and you're seeing someone faking it until they make it. You're not going to really like that character so much, you know? But imagine instead, you see this guy or gal or girl, whatever, and you see them studying really hard on Friday night. You see them working Sunday, and they're taking no time off, but they're enthusiastic. They're enjoying. They're learning real estate. They're doing all these things. And if you document your journey, as like Gary Vee would say, and you share your journey with the people that are following you, friends, family, and everything, they're going to know that you're not perfect, but they're going to see that you're hustling hard, and they're going to root for you. And you're going to be that underdog that they want to help. And if you can do that, that'll help you a whole lot more, and it'll just feel better than if you keep trying to fake it and pretend. You're going to have to remember whatever you made up or whatever because your broker told you to share every just sold or just listing. I don't do just sold or just listings because when I was younger, I realized if I do it every time, I do it sometimes, but if I do it every time, they're going to know when I'm busy and when I'm not. That's too much pressure, you know?
Great point.
So the last thing I was going to say is, a lot of people that watch this will probably visit Miami, or know someone that's going to visit Miami. I don't care if you're buying a house or selling a house or anything like that, but if you're ever visiting Miami or know someone, go to our Miami neighborhood guide, because I guarantee you, if you go to that website, miamineighborhoodguide.com, you will enjoy Miami a lot more than if you didn't read it or see the videos.
Both of my nieces are actually going down there for a wedding. So I'm just going to shoot them the site and be like, hey, I know you guys like to party. Here's some good pages to explore.
Totally. Yeah, they'll have a good time.
I really enjoyed this conversation, and you made very solid points. And I enjoy with your content that you're like, here I am, take it or leave it. Like it's not so incredibly produced and edited that it as a consumer, it doesn't feel that level of intimidation isn't there. It's like, you're just a real guy and you're like, oh, okay, let me go on this journey with you. So like, keep doing it. I enjoy it.
Thank you.
On that note, people are going to come to Miami. What is the best way for them to either connect with your website or to connect with you directly?
If they just go to the miamineighborhoodguide.com, our contact information is there.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thank you for your time.
Likewise.
We'll be chatting soon.
Awesome. I'm going to keep looking out for billboards, iPhone photos, and videos. I'm going to be looking for that now.
If you see the signature, it'll say CLOD. That's her.
Awesome.